Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So we are now less than 2 weeks away from the 2025 NHL draft, 13 days to be exact, when my New York Islanders select first overall. So I have started to do my player scouting report breakdowns over on TikTok, as well as posting the graphic over on Instagram. I started off, of course, with Matthew Schaefer, and one of my favorite things to do in this process is give out NHL player comparisons for these prospects, more so who they play like than what their career will be. I try to line them up a decent amount, but yeah, that's what this video is going to do. I'm just going to give out for the top. I think we have 14 or 15 guys that we're going to go through, kind of the consensus 14 to 15, top 15. I'll have my eventual rankings in like a week or two, but yeah, we're going to dive into it, what these guys play like. So if your team selected in that range, you can know what to kind of expect from a play style angle, as well as, again, I tried to line it up relative to the caliber of player that they're going to end up being. So yeah, let's dive into it. And up first, Matthew Schaefer. I got some flack for this, but I'm standing by it. I went with Jake Sanderson. Yes, I think Matthew Schaefer is going to be a better player than Jake Sanderson, but even if he's not, like, is that a total bust of a first overall selection, considering the fact that Sanderson walked into the NHL, played 22, 23 minutes a night, and this season had, 55 points and was like a no-doubt top 12 defenseman. I think he finished 10th in Norris voting. But yeah, when looking at their play styles, they absolutely glide in terms of skating. This skating, I think Sanderson's already like a top 5 pure skater, especially full head of steam in the neutral zone. They just glide. They're fantastic skaters, and as a result, Sanderson has developed into one of the best defensemen, the defensive defensemen, as well in terms of guys that play like a legit number one role. And I think the same thing will happen to Matthew Schaefer. So given the similarities of just how fantastic skaters are, they're both 6'2". Sanderson is bulked up to now he's like 205. I expect Schaefer, who came in at a light 185, I think, around, is definitely going to put on some weight, and I think he will be a slightly better Jake Sanderson, consistent top 4 to 8 defenseman in the NHL. I would happily take. Speaking of the New York Islanders, our next guy is Anton Frondell. I said Bo Horvat at the start of the season. Some people called me crazy. I'm standing by it. When looking at these guys, both 6'1", both very heavy. Anton Frondell's already 200 goddamn pounds at 18 years old. Bo Horvat's 6'1" and plays at 215. So they're very stocky guys with very heavy shots, and as a result, Bo Horvat has been, over the last 4 years, has averaged 34 goals a season. So yeah, I'm not sure Anton Frondell has the overall playmaking and hockey sense to be a legit true number one center. Like Bo Horvat's not a true number one center, but I think given their physicality, given the way that they're able to protect the puck, I think Frondell is going to have a very successful career of being like a 30-30 kind of guy, much like a Bo Horvat. Brady Martin said he modeled his game after Sam Bennett, and it makes a lot of sense. This guy plays like an absolute psychopath. I think Sam Bennett is a little bit underrated in terms of his skill. He does have a decent amount of skill, and I think more skill than, say, Brady Martin. But yeah, I think that the physicality and disruptors that these two guys are, I think Brady Martin's going to be consistent 45 to 55 point second line center, and a team will be very happy to select him. Maybe not at 4th overall if I'm the Utah Mammoth, but Brady Martin's a really fun player, and teams are going to absolutely hate him in no time as soon as he makes it to the NHL level. And that's why I have Sam Bennett as his comparison. Next up, Caleb Dano, and you could maybe say this one's a little bit lazy because I went with 2 French Canadians, but I think Sean Couttoriier makes a lot of sense. And of course, I'm talking about pre-injury Sean Couttoriier, when he was one of the best defensive centers in the entire NHL, gave you around 70 points, won a Selke trophy. I expect that kind of from Caleb Dano. Caleb Dano also plays a very well-paced, lets the game come to him kind of two-way style of hockey. They don't really do anything at an extremely elite level, but when you do something at such a good level across the board, as a result, you're going to be a very effective player. Dano, in my opinion, doesn't have one of the top 5 ceilings in this draft, but he has probably the 3rd highest floor, similarly to a Sean Couttoriier that just does the right thing, and as a result, gets pretty high results. Next up, Carter Bear and Artturi Lehkonen, just two-way dogs, slightly undersized. Well, Bear's 6 foot, Artturi Lehkonen's 5'11", but yeah, they play physical. They play both sides of the ice. They're highly skilled. Artturi Lehkonen this year at 27 goals has been around the 30-30 kind of pace guy the last 4 or 5 seasons on the Colorado Avalanche. And yeah, I think Bear is just going to be a complete disruptor, has one of the highest compete levels in this year's draft, and Lehkonen has really found his role basically doing exactly that on the Colorado Avalanche. And if you get that at 10th or 11th overall, you're going absolutely crazy. Next up, we got Jackson Smith and Travis Sanheim. This would really be a best case scenario for Jackson Smith. They're roughly the same build, both 6'3" lefties. And yeah, Sanheim just does everything at an extremely high level. Not the sexiest defenseman by any means, but you can throw him in any situation and he will flourish, play 23, 24 minutes a night. And for Jackson Smith, I think he has the toolbox that if he's possibly developed to the best that he could be, he can be that top pair legit guy. Again, physically very similar, as well as I think Smith is an all-around Swiss Army knife kind of defenseman that teams highly covet, especially nowadays. James Higgins, I know it's a little bit weird to mock a guy that's only 3 years older than him, but I do think there's a lot of Logan Cooley in his game coming into the season. You thought maybe more so Jack Hughes because he was looking like that presumptive, no doubt first overall pick, but he did not quite display the playmaking, especially the skating of a Jack Hughes relative to his draft year as a prospect and in the NHL. But Logan Cooley, I was still extremely high. He was my number one prospect in the 2022 draft. And yeah, these guys are absolute wizards with the puck, very high-level skaters. I would actually give James Higgins the edge in terms of shooting. I think Cooley was a slightly bit more of a better playmaker, and obviously he's proved it at the NHL level. But yeah, undersized, but extremely skilled. And pretty responsible defensively. It's not like they're all offense, no defense. I think James Higgins could be like Logan Cooley and be one of the best centers in the NHL in 4 to 5 years. For Sean Atchison, I am going to go with Jacob Trouba. Hopefully not as dirty as a Jacob Trouba, but he is going to lay people the hell out and do it with a smile on his face. Similarly to a Jacob Trouba, he also kind of has that Radko Gudas psychopath, but unlike Radko Gudas, he actually has a decent amount of skill. So I went with Jacob Trouba, who we forget because his New York Rangers tenure was so bad. He was a consistent like 40 to 50 point guy with the Winnipeg Jets, and then when he went to the New York Rangers early on. So yeah, I think Trouba does make a lot of sense in terms of a hard-nosed, laying the body out kind of defenseman. Sean Atchison is going to be that. You're going to like him a decent amount if he's on your team. If not, you're probably going to hate his guts. Next up, redeem Murka. When looking at Murka, I think Tyler Myers, considering big boys that can skate very good and as a result are very effective defensively. I feel like Tyler Myers is kind of underrated right now just because he's coming off such a big contract that was a disaster. But yeah, I think Murka, especially the defensive aspects of his game, have kind of been underrated in terms of just being a pure stopper out there, like we've seen from Tyler Myers over the years. And yeah, I think he's going to slot very nice into a second-line center role. Might be able to offer more offense right now than Tyler Myers, but Tyler Myers early on in his career won the goddamn Calder. He was like a 40 to 50 point guy, and I think we can expect that from a redeemed Murka. For Michael Misa, I've already seen a bunch of people give this out for him in terms of Tyler Seguin. I'm also going to give it out. I feel like it just makes the most sense. More of a goal-scoring first-line center that once he gets a full head of steam can really maneuver his body and use his physicality to score a shit ton of goals. Tyler Seguin, in his prime, gave you like 35 goals, 45 assists, 80 points in the mid-2010s. So like nowadays, that'd be 40 goals, 50 assists or something like that. So yeah, I think a lot of that could be applied to Michael Misa. I always say Michael Misa, similarly to a guy like Caleb Danoyer, but even more offensively, just does everything at an extremely high level like a Tyler Seguin before his injuries. I'm obviously not saying Tyler Seguin right now, but yeah, prime Tyler Seguin was a top 5 through 10 center in the NHL. I think that's fair to say, and I expect kind of the same from Michael Misa once he really hits his prime. Next up, Justin Carbono. He is a fast guy with a very good shot. That's Jared McCann for the most part. I'm looking at Jared McCann. This was a bit of a down year goal scoring wise, but the prior 3 seasons averaged 34 goals. So yeah, Carbono, if you put him on your second line with the playmaking center, he's going to find a way. He's going to be dominant in transition. And I think much like we've seen Jared McCann ever since he got to the Seattle Kraken, I think that comparison makes a lot of sense. On the flip side of that, somebody that's not that good of a goal scorer, Jake O'Brien. I think Dylan Shro makes a lot of sense. High IQ playmaker. And Shro, in fairness, has now developed into a guy that can get you consistently mid-20s goals. And I think O'Brien will improve on his shot. But yeah, just in terms of that more so cerebral kind of two-way playmaker, I think O'Brien and Shro make a lot of sense. Kirby Dach for Roger McQueen. I know that's a little bit scary, but both big right-handed centers that have dealt with injuries. When Kirby Dach is actually fully healthy, he's so damn fast, so damn skilled. We saw it in that 2023 season, I believe, when he had like 38 points in 54 games or something like that. It looked like he was finally emerging. For McQueen, you could also say Tage Thompson, but I feel like that's kind of just like a little bit too lazy. But his shot is getting up there in terms of being one of the better shots in this draft, in my opinion. And maybe he's not going to have 47 goals, but he should be a pretty effective goal scorer at the next level. It's going to be about staying healthy because I do think the tools are all there for Roger McQueen, like we thought for Kirby Dach back in the day when he went third overall. I don't think McQueen's going to go third overall, but he might go decently high. Second to last one, Victor Ecklund and Travis Kenkne, both undersized guys that don't play like they're undersized. They're both 5'10" and are absolute dogs. What Ecklund was able to do against grown men this season in the second tier Swedish league was so impressive. And similarly to Kenkne, he might fall as a result, despite that great draft year, he might fall in his draft. Kenkne had 100 points in 60 OHL games, fell all the way to 24th. Ecklund 31-42, probably going to fall in the 13 to 17 range when it shouldn't happen. Both of these guys are absolute dogs. Not sure Ecklund has the goal scoring capabilities of Kenkne, who's put up multiple 30 goal seasons, but should just be a menace within someone's top six in terms of physicality. And then lastly, we got Porter Marone, and I'm comparing him to Blake Wheeler. I don't think when watching him that he is this physical power forward akin to like a Matthew or Brady Tkachuk. He is more so of just a playmaker. Definitely can use his size at times, but does not quite have that tenacity to where I think he is more so of a skill-heavy, bigger guy like a Blake Wheeler that was all the way up at 6'5". Again, willing to throw the body, but definitely going to be more of an assist guy. He can still get you 25 to 35 goals most likely. Blake Wheeler had seasons where he was 28, 29 goals, but I do think Porter Marone is better suited as a playmaker kind of driving a line than some net front guy just being a disruptor with his body. So as a result, I think Blake Wheeler makes more sense than some of the more so power forward comps that he's been getting recently. But yeah, those are all my comparisons. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about these? Or some of these, am I completely off base? Some of these, I knocked it out of the park. Again, more so based on the play style, although I did try to make it like what their NHL career is roughly going to be like. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.